Hi folks, I'm Glenn.
I'm Maureen.
And we've got some trees that blew down across the cabin trail, blocking the trail from a recent windstorm that we had. So we're going to be removing those this evening.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? He asked me, what do you think of moving? Well, I said,
Hello, welcome to our channel. We're all about sharing our adventures and experiences around our homestead and off-grid cabin here on our 40 acres in the wilderness of Ontario, Canada. If you haven't done so yet, consider subscribing and click the little notification bell so you won't miss anything right here on Cabin Life with Glenn and Maureen. That's right. I had been doing a talk on our last video. Check that out if you haven't done so. And I was concerned about what was happening with the recent events, all the news that I've been taking in, kind of info overload there. And I just kind of feel like I need a vacation, staycation. And so I went and I asked Maureen, what do you think about moving?
what do I think about moving? I said, where to? Where are we going to move to? The real estate market's like crazy right now. No properties are available. Everybody's selling and buying. And we have this great 40 acres. Like, why do you want to move?
I want to move back to the cabin. I want to move up to the cabin and just get away from it all. I want to get back to the land, get back to the cabin. When we first settled here on the land, it was an adventure and not knowing what lay ahead. We were waiting for the homestead to be built. We had no home, and we were living in the van and the RV and had the cabin built. And next thing you know, the homestead was built and waiting for us in the spring. So, we moved out of the cabin and into the homestead, and this is our 5th year in the wilderness now. And with these lockdowns that are imminent, and the numbers, the way that they're going, and we've been doing some preps. You may have seen on a recent video that we've been prepping for longer term stays where we may not either have access to supplies or not have access to get out to get supplies. So Maureen's been doing a lot of preparing in the last 3 months. Sorry, no, the last 8 months.
Time flies.
Yeah. And so for the last 8 months, we have been utilizing those stores and we've been doing some extra prepping. So 2 months solid going to the cabin is what I'm thinking of as a test for a voluntary lockdown.
And when he suggested it, I thought, wait a minute now, like this, going through my thought patterns right away, I thought, I'm not ready for this. Like, no, like I've been prepping, but I'm still not ready. Like, wait, 2 months? And then I started playing with that for a bit. And I thought, wait a minute. When lockdown happens, we better be ready because there's not going to be an option. Like,
yeah, I don't think they're going to give you a 2-week warning that lockdown is imminent.
It's not a laughing matter, but we weren't prepared then either because we had plans which were changed outside of our control. So we found ourselves, our house sold, this property wasn't ready. So we were in a situation where we lived in a van and an RV and then the cabin. Like anyone who's been with our channel for a while understand our story.
We were scrambling to get shelter.
And we were scrambling to get shelter. This time we have shelter, we have the cabin, we have food. So now, yeah, I'm pretty well prepared. So yeah, I think I'm ready.
So moving to the cabin, what things are going to change that's different than what we're doing now?
Well, there will be no going outside the gate. Like you said, we've committed to staying inside on the property for 2 months. Yeah, so there's some things, habits will have to change. For the most part, it's probably not going to be too hard because the winter's here because we're so far from town and we are remote that in the winter and on the shoulder months, we have to be ready to not be able to go into town or the village or the city, whatever, because of the road conditions or the weather. Like if we're in the middle of a snowstorm, we're not going anywhere anyway. So we've already adjusted to a certain point. So it'll be interesting with the 2 months.
We're accustomed to hunkering down, being isolated. And as I was saying in the last video, in the last 8 months, we've only seen a handful of people, other than when Maureen goes shopping and that kind of a thing. But this is going to be a little bit different because moving to the cabin, the refrigeration is going to have to be considered, laundry, our waste, recycling and all that, the way we're cooking, all that kind of stuff. But you know what? I don't know about you, but I'm looking forward to it. I consider it to be an adventure, and we'll make it hopefully, as positive an experience as possible. We're going to have some fun and get back to the land, back to the cabin.
And I like to use it as a teaching opportunity for people who are living in urban areas and say, oh, I want to go do that. It looks pretty easy. Well, we don't show every minute of our day. So a lot of people may not get the true concept of the challenges of living off-grid or living remotely. So when we first lived in the cabin, we didn't really do a lot of footage. We didn't do a lot of filming of what we were doing.
We didn't have a channel on YouTube.
Yeah, right. And true enough. And since then, there's a lot of things that we would change the way we did things back then, because that was a huge learning curve.
Now there are some YouTube channels that you may have seen. If you're interested in moving before lockdown, you want to make that escape, maybe buy a piece of property and build a cabin. There are some YouTube channels out there that portray how simple it is to do that. Buy a land on the cheap, build a cabin for free, and then live happily ever after. It's all rainbows and lollipops. And if you're contemplating doing that with no experience whatsoever in the wilderness, and you're contemplating on doing that in the next several months, do your research and do your homework, and don't just take what you see through the lens of a camera as reality, because that can be very skewed, and it can be dangerous for you to attempt to do something new, like venturing out into the wilderness and building a new homestead without that experience and without the time and the resources to do it. So please do your homework before you venture into that neck of the woods. We have the cabin, as Maureen said, it's already built. However, we have challenges ourselves in making this move. The cabin is unfinished. We are on a retirement budget on pension, and so we haven't had the dollars to finish off the cabin and do what we want with it. So it is what it is. It is unfinished. We do have basically the shelter there. However, I went to check the propane tanks the other day and start the heater up. We turned the pilot light off early in the summer to save on propane, so that the pilot light wouldn't be burning all summer. Didn't need the heat in the cabin. However, it's going to start the propane back up. That pilot light will not light. I think the nozzle is completely on the fritz, and we need to replace it. So we're now waiting for
our service
guy, a certified propane installer, to come in and work on that. So hopefully that's not going to be too long. We're not going to hold our breath, but in the meantime, we're going to continue preparing and getting ready for the move to the cabin and try to set things up as much as possible. It's basically a shell right now, so you get to set the kitchen up the way you want it, and even better than what you had last time.
Yeah, that'll be nice, better than last time. Because last time, we literally went from an RV, which was not bad size, but small, and into the cabin. And I was just so excited about getting into the cabin with the heater that we just quickly went in, and we didn't do a lot of prep because it was warmer than -7. So this time I thought a lot of things. For refrigeration, I have a different idea for that. So I'm looking forward to getting that set up. And where we're going to be putting things, like the table and the prep area and the bed and all that stuff. No, Glenn's talking about all the prepping and the research, sort of as property and the building and that. There's also yourself right? Like, there's a lot of people who say they have office jobs, they have jobs where they're not using their bodies to the full capacity of the human body. So when you're like coming out here, there's a lot of walking to haul our water and the waste and all that stuff. And to sort of bring you along too, to be a reminder to you, are you physically ready for it? Because
Looks easy watching a guy on camera carry a log over his shoulder or lift up a big log and right. But you don't know how the back is hurting off the camera, right? So
right. And I know I'm sort of laughing and smiling, but well, it
that's
happened.
serious.
It happened to Glenn. We lost a whole year because of Glenn throwing out his back.
Back injury.
What he did 20 years ago would have been a piece of cake. But because of we're older. Got to admit that. So you got to be careful. Even young people, right? If you're doing things you've never done before, be ready to discover muscles you didn't know you had. It can sometimes take a toll on a person if they're not ready for it.
Well, we'll find out what happens when we're locked down for 2 full months in the cabin coming up through this winter. That's what we're anticipating. So we'll bring you along and let you in on how we're going to be preparing for this, some of the challenges maybe that we come up against, and we'll fill you in on that as we make this move, and maybe that'll help provide a little insight or foresight for you at home that are maybe contemplating making that move, or you can just sit back and watch two old folks try to make a new adventure for themselves in the woods of Ontario.
Speak for yourself.
Looking forward to that, and we will see you on the next one. I'm Glenn.
I'm Maureen.
See you next time. Over and out.
Take care.